judged by your appearance.
Yeah, that's some pretty cool video from the old EAS days. Shawn Phillips here, and I made sure whenever I was shooting in the old days, photos or video, I was always fully loaded on creatine. Man, I love creatine. I don't know about you, if you love creatine too. I've got some really interesting facts and some myths to dispel here. And one of the things that's happened is, if you look at creatine and how successful it's been over the years, one thing we've discovered more and more about it, more and more truth. We've got a greater track record of safety on it. But then along the time too, these myths start to pop up. Misinformation, some intentionally done through marketing, others just people get confused or they mistake things. And these myths, I think, get in the way of people having the chance to use creatine properly and use creatine. So this is a little course I put together just to help educate people on what creatine is and really dispel what I consider the 10 most debilitating myths of creatine. So this is the truth about creatine, and I'm going to expose the 10 most prevalent myths about creatine. Slide 1, some creatine facts. It's good to know some facts. It's a nitrogen organic acid that naturally occurs in our bodies. I think that's an important thing. It occurs in our bodies, and it really helps supply energy to all the cells, primarily muscle. That's where most of it's contained. And it's achieved through the formation of ADP, adenosine triphosphate, which is really just our source of energy. ATP is so important to your body that ATP is used to create ATP. That'll tell you something about how important that is. More creatine facts. Naturally produced in the human body from amino acids. Approximately 95% of all your body's total creatine is located in your muscle. Surprise, surprise, huh? And creatine is manufactured in the human body from L-arginine, glycine, and methionine. So you've got your amino acids putting it together. Now you can win that. If you ever get that on Jeopardy, you got it nailed, right? Creatine history, a little bit of interesting stuff because it's brand new, weird, edgy stuff, right? First discovered in 1832 as a component of skeletal muscle and named after the Greek word for meat, krios. I think that's kind of an interesting fact. In 1912, Harvard University researchers found proof that creatine can dramatically boost creatine content of muscle. Fascinating for sure. So, more creatine history. Boom, baby. 1992, I remember this. Linford Christie, the gold medal winner in the 100 meters, used creatine before the Olympics. Lots of stories about that. Creatine started to grow in popularity. It kind of came out of England and some of the research over there. Its use in bodybuilding and sports nutrition was promptly, I'm joking, from the 1912, popularized by EAS in 1993 first under the brand name of Phosphagen. Well, Phosphagen, great name. A little history there. And it's become the most successful, largest selling nutritional supplement in history. I'd say by a long shot. Oh, there it is, the Phosphagen, the classic. Creatine has a lot of things it does for your body, and we discover more and more of them all the time. Here's its ability to combat aging. 7 days of creatine has been effective in increasing muscle performance and function in older men. It really combats age-related loss of muscle, or sarcopenia as it's called. It helps increase growth hormone in some research studies, and may improve cardio function, especially in the case of heart disease. Improve cellular energetics. It's really that energy. ATP is the closest, that is our energy. So if we're donating phosphagen to the ATP cycle, boom, energy. Creatine Smart, it's not just good for you. It's been shown to improve cognitive performance in temporarily impaired due to sleep deprivation or permanently impaired due to aging or injury, traumatic brain injury too. I like the sleep deprivation one, which is fairly recent research on sleep deprivation, which is fascinating to me because I can often be sleep deprived. Even short-term creatine supplementation benefits brain function. Prevented mental fatigue in serial calculation. And, so if you want to calculate your serial, no, not that kind of serial. That's awesome. And improve symptoms of Parkinson's disease and chronic fatigue syndrome. Good. Well, it's energy. It should. Creatine Strong. We know what it does for muscles predominantly, but it promotes strength, muscle mass, energy, and prevents muscle wasting. It's also been shown to reduce homocysteine levels and combat inflammation, which can be important in recovery. Reduce muscle damage from endurance exercise, which is kind of the inflammation aspect of it. The bottom line is creatine makes you stronger, faster, and smarter. Good summary, huh? Now, myth number 1. We're getting down to the myths for you. You must load creatine for 5 days. Well, I don't know who started that one, but fact is loading is unnecessary. but loading does speed saturation levels, because what we're aiming for is a saturation level. You think of your body's like a tank. It's got a certain upper limit. And you're trying to fill that tank up. You can fill it up faster or slower. The problem is that you actually do like 5 servings a day. It can cause some stomach upset. So I'm more inclined to start with a couple servings a day for 5 or 7 days and then go back to the 1 serving a day. Now we've got all this new forms of creatine, all these new edgy ones, man, they rock, right? Well, let's look at the original. It's over 90% absorbable, the creatine monohydrate, which is completely contrary to what some companies and gurus will tell you. This is a great testimonial from a PhD researcher who said, "I'm happy to testify at any trial on the weakness of Crealkalin's published research and their inaccuracies in research." Crealkalin, the buffered creatine is supposed to, they want you to believe that monohydrate converts to creatinine in water and blah, blah, blah. BS. They actually convert to creatinine much faster than creatine does. Creatine monohydrate works. Crealkalin does not work. A recent study showed it did not work nearly as effectively. Creatine ethyl ester, actually misspell on that, delivers and absorbs better than monohydrate. False. Not true. There's been no evidence that any of these newer forms are safer or more effective than creatine monohydrate. Enough of that one. Ready for myth number 3? Creatine causes cramping. Well, heck yeah, it does, doesn't it, right? Controlled studies have refuted the cramping claims. Athletes taking creatine are more likely to connect it to the way to taking creatine, because once the rumor started, right? So if I'm taking creatine and I cramp, it must be the creatine. It can't possibly be me or my electrolytes or drinking water or any hydration. Actually, research has shown that your chances of experiencing are not greater, but potentially even lower. That said, I've had some experience. I've always been an anti-cramping guy. I've had some experience in really high endurance, like, when I'm going on a bike ride for more than 3 hours, if I'm not in peak shape, sometimes I think I get a little bit tighter and a little bit more crampy but that's on the really, really high end of work. So I'm good with the research that shows not cramping. And I'm also put a caveat in there that if you're going to go run 2 or 3 marathons, be sure you train on creatine. I think it has a lot of available energy, but I always say, know your body and get to know your body and what works for you. So, oh man, you must cycle creatine. Myth number 4, right? Well, actually, there's no reason to cycle it. Well, other than preference. Because you see, we're trying to fill that tank of creatine. Your body has a ceiling on the amount of creatine that it will store in muscles. So, muscle creatine levels stay elevated as long as you consume that maintenance dose. That usually is that 5 grams a day. So there's really no reason to cycle it. I put up their preference, because if you choose to cycle it, I like to just go off sometimes because I'm lazy, sometimes because I'm doing different activities or sport, and because I like the feeling of coming back on, which gives me that load or that rush, the muscles get full again and stronger. So, cycling it now and then for preference, but there's no absolute reason to. And I do notice a drop in energy when I'm off, so I'm kind of more inclined to stay on more steadily these days. Myth number 5, creatine's a steroid, right? Well, you hear a lot of this stuff, especially, in parents of youth and stuff. Boom. Creatine is in zero way related to any prohormone or steroid. It is just not. It's simply not. It may exert a positive effect on growth hormone, like training does, but that's just, a side effect of hormone and growth hormone and testosterone boosting our body. What I think happens often is people get an increase in muscle, and it gets people thinking steroids. They look at them and they go, well, they look bigger, must be taking steroids. So people have confused it or just kind of lump things together in this generalization that people's brains do. So creatine is not steroid-like in any way. Now here's a myth. Is that a myth? Creatine must be taken after workout. Myth number 6. So it is a myth. Timing of creatine is actually irrelevant. It works anytime, whatever is best in your schedule. Timing is emphasized really to create patterns of consumption and sell more. I mean, if you're going to get somebody to use creatine, you want to tell them, stand on one foot, jump up and down 3 times, and take it right before you say these magic words. That actually sets a pattern and it trains them. And that's not a bad thing, because it reminds you when to take it. So if you're going to train, you can take it before a workout. I generally don't. I like to take it first thing in the morning. Yeah, on an empty stomach. So what I do is, I'm mixing my creatine these days in some warm or hot water to make sure it's completely dissolved. The tip that I got from the great Will Brink. Then I'm adding a little bit of juice or carbohydrates, just a slight amount to it, cooling the water off a little bit and drinking it that way. Maybe some green tea with it too. And I like that mix first thing in the morning because, it just helps hydrate my body and get me started on the day. Creatine, no, that's actually myth number 7. Ready for myth number 7? Myth number 7, complex formulas are best. Oh yeah, we like a complex formula. Well, creatine is the active ingredient in almost every popular muscle product. I often laugh. I'll look down these, powerful kitchen sink formulas like the recent Assault. And you look at all these products and all the things in there, and then you just have this one highlighted piece going, and then this stuff that works, the active ingredient. Creatine. I mean, there's some other amino acids and things that support, but ultimately, if you get creatine in a formula, the creatine will help people build muscle, and then they'll connect to this whole expensive formula model. I say, definitely say no to proprietary blends or products that do not specify the amount of creatine. That's kind of a tricky one. But ultimately, if there's an absolute must-have formula, I like to keep them simple. And if creatine's in it, I personally don't like my creatine to be in my pre-workout or training formula. I like my creatine to be a standalone. I really like it to be a separate thing because I know I'm loading my body. It's not really related, especially some of these formulas that put a lot of caffeine or stimulants in there. The stimulants could be so strong that you can't get the dose of creatine you need. And you don't really know what you're getting in there. So you kind of start messing with the levels of creatine you're getting. So a lot of the reason for creating kitchen sink formulas or big formulas too is so that instead of getting, pure creatine monohydrate, which is pretty much a highly available, powder these days or substance, it's not really expensive. So if you get a kitchen sink formula, people can charge you many more times. So, take creatine might cost you $30, add 10 pounds of sugar and a couple amino acids, and people are going to charge you $70 for it. So, your choice. No, you must take at least 10 grams a day. Myth number 8, you must take at least 10 grams of creatine a day, and be that 15 grams. Sometimes I hear just different amounts. Studies show actually that 3 grams a day will reach a saturation level in about 28 days. Now, if you want to go faster, you can take more. 5 grams a day is the standard. More is not better nor needed in a situation to completely fill your tank. If you want a full tank, it's just how fast you're going to get to full, So if you do 5 servings a day for 5 days, it can fill your tank faster. But you don't have to stay at a 10-gram maintenance level. I think even Tim Ferriss mentioned that. Without that maintenance dose, though, creatinine levels will return to baseline after about 3 to 4 weeks. And there are different baselines for different people. Myth number 9, I'm just going to throw my creatine in my protein shake, right? Or, in my case, let's just add it to full strength, right? Creatine actually attracts water, so it likes to bond with water. That's how it pulls water into your muscle. It's got a powerful osmotic effect there. And it can pull water into your stomach there, impacting digestion too. So I don't add it to my protein. A lot of people say, well, it doesn't bother me, or it does bother me. Some people really get bothered by it, didn't know why they were getting what we used to call in the phosphogene days, we called it phosphogas, because it was known to produce, that side effect. So what you're doing is you're impacting your digestion negatively by pulling all this water into your gut, and it can end up giving you gas and phosphogas, as we like to call it. So I just keep it out of the proteins. Don't take it with food, don't take it with protein. I think it's just better absorbed on its own. Myth number 10, I get this one a lot. I took Myth number 10, and I get this one a lot. I took creatine, but it really bloats me. Let's see, what's creatine do? Creatine puts water into your muscle, so it bloated them. This is also used negatively in marketing. A lot of people say, well, we invented the ethyl ester or the creatine, the CEE or the crealkaline because it doesn't bloat you like other ones do. Well, that's just playing on a myth that was out there. And the reality is if you pull water into the body, water into the muscle is a larger muscle, a larger, firmer muscle. In the photos that I've taken throughout my life, I am fully loaded on creatine, and not one do I look bloated, because the bloat really is super hydrating the muscle, not laying on the skin under the, fat or anything else. So the reality is, if you've got soft fat over larger muscles, I'm sure you may look more bloated. I think that ultimately becomes the case. If people, have a layer of fat all over themselves and they get larger, they go, oh man, I'm really looking bloated. So it's really a myth. I mean, it's a destructive myth because, you can put the more muscle, the more your ability to train, the stronger you are, the more you can train, the stronger you can train, the faster you can burn the fat off. But let's not confuse creatine with the cause of body fat. Myth number 11, creatine is unproven and unsafe. Oh, yes, it is. We get this one all the time. I hear it. Actually, creatine is one of the most well-researched and safe supplements ever discovered for an exceptionally wide range of uses. You think about it. Millions of people have used millions of servings over nearly 20 years without incidents. There's been a few reported things here and there that, mostly have been completely disproven. Cramping's been the most widely reached one. I think we should think of creatine less as some exotic supplement and more like carb loading. If you think about what carb loading is, it's bringing more energy into the body, and that's just one chain further removed from the pure ATP, which is the energy of our cells, energy of our brain, energy of our body, that is our energetics. So if I deplete my carbs and load carbs, I have more available energy. If I load creatine up to the level that my body really can hold and store creatine in the muscles, what I've done is just add more energy. Carb loading, creatine loading. It's more like that, so less exotic. Now, creatine side effects. I took this one from Dr. Ralph Yeager, who wrote a review of creatine science and kind of a complete collective of creatine recently in the Sports Nutrition Insider. He says common side effects include gains in strength, improved brain function, which sometimes can lead to feeling overconfident. Besides that, creatine is one of the most researched supplements out there. But I like that one, can lead to feeling overconfident. So there's a side effect you got to watch out for, right? So the conclusion here is creatine works. And all those newer forms have been marketed with alleged better bioavailability, efficiency, or safety. Now, there's little or no evidence that these newer forms are safer or more effective. And personally, I use 100% pure creatine monohydrate powder. And I prefer the Creapure. I don't just prefer, I highly recommend Creapure from Germany, not Chinese sources. And when it comes to that, 100% pure, I'd say welcome back Phosphagen 2.0. Boom. Because that's the one that works. Well, I hope you learned something from this presentation. And, if you haven't been on creatine, or you've been away from it for a while, or you've been wondering about it, or been thinking about trying creatine again, this is a great opportunity to get back in on something is 100% pure, simple, safe, and really damn cheap too. It's just, it's the most reliable stuff out there from a name you can trust, which would be Full Strength Nutrition. Thanks for listening. I appreciate it.